Welcome to the city that never sleeps, and it certainly feels that way at 5 to 7 in the morning for free practice 2 ahead of round 11 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, the New York City E-Prix. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are in the world. We are here overlooking Manhattan in Red Hook, Brooklyn, ahead of the 11th round of the championship, and we're getting into the business end of the season. After this, we have a doubleheader in London in 2 weeks' time, and then in 4 weeks' time, a doubleheader and a first ever visit to Seoul in South Korea for the Formula E World Championship. 3 wins this year apiece for Eduardo Mortara and for Mitch Evans. 2 wins for Nick de Vries, even though he's not really entitled to contention. 1 win for Pascal Wehrlein, even though he's not really entitled to contention. Just 1 win for Stoffel van Dorn so far this season. Statue of Liberty there on the left-hand side. Dan Ticktum about to get in his Neo 333 car down in the pit lane as he hops in after Mitch Evans will be getting in the Jaguar, and he is the man 4th in the championship at the moment. Podiums in the last 2 races, a win in Jakarta and 3rd last time out in Marrakesh. And here is the Red Hook part of Brooklyn, the cruise terminal on the left-hand side, and that's the run down towards the first corner. There's a look over Governor's Island, and here's a look at the championship points. Eduardo Mortara, 11 points ahead of Jean-Eric Vergne, and then it's just 4 points between Vergne, Van Dorn and Mitch Evans. Those top 4 have broken away at the top of the standings and are very much the men to beat as far as the championship is concerned. The man who has won here 3 times in the past is Sam Bird. He's 12th in the championship at the moment. He was pretty impressive actually yesterday in free practice, so maybe he's got a shot at grabbing his first win of the season. 16 points for Nick Cassidy in what's been a tricky sophomore year for the New Zealander. No points for either of the Dragon Penske Autosport drivers mean that they are at the bottom of the team's points with 0. Neo 333 have picked up 7. Mahindra with a 10th place for Oliver Rowland last time out managed to get up into 8th place. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me is the man, one of the men who won the 2008 24 Hours of Daytona, Dario Franchitti.
Morning, Jack. So here we are, New York. 2.3 kilometers, very, very dusty. Run down to turn 1, wide open in the braking zone, but you got to get in position for 2, 3, 4, and through the slippery turn 5, long straight into heavy, bumpy braking zone, through 6 and 7 in quick succession. Difficult to get the power down out of 7, lining up through 8, braking straight into 9, new surface there. Turn 10, tight hairpin, a Type 1 activation zone on the outside. Then it's a quick flick through 12, 13 and through 14, a fast flowing corner with a big dip in the middle. Got to carry as much speed as you possibly can to cross the finish line, and that is the battleground for today's race.
Yep, certainly is. And Stoffel van Dorn was the quickest driver yesterday, a 1:09.836, 3/10 clear of the rest of the field. At the moment, just 24 degrees the air temperature. It'll be getting about 10 degrees hotter than that, I would have thought, over the course of the day. Track temperature fairly cool as well. I think it was 50 degrees for free practice yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, to me that's the big difference. It's the track temperature being so cool, it gives the tyres a much easier time. The car's going to handle differently, and it'll be a good test for qualifying, which is coming up very quickly, just before 9 o'clock this morning. So that I think that'll help you. But for the race this afternoon, I expect the circuit to be a lot warmer, more like yesterday's conditions from pre-practice 1.
So that was championship leader Eduardo Mortara. This is the man chasing him, Jean-Eric Vergne, 2-time champion. No race wins this year, but he told me on Thursday that he knows what went wrong in each race that he didn't win, and is fairly confident that he'll win one.
Someone
this year.
finished ahead of him.
Yeah, exactly. Stoffel van Dorn only has 1 win this year in Monaco.
Did you see his face in Jakarta when he got beaten? Jeff, I mean, he was furious. He's still, the hunger's still there.
Yeah, we heard him on the radio afterwards saying, I don't understand why we've thrown this away. This was ours, easy. Mitch Evans is the 4th driver in the championship, and he makes his way out onto circuit. So he's keen to get going. His teammate Sam Bird stays in the pits. Both Mercedes stay in the pits. Vergne makes his way out. Only Robin Fries is heading out for Envision. So everybody fairly chilled about getting out onto the circuit. Well, not everybody, but a lot of them.
And I think some of that's to do with the dust that we saw yesterday. But, you know, even walking from the hotel this morning, there was lots of, I don't know if it rained overnight, but you can see, or they tried to wash the circuit, but there's some damp patches as well. So you need to be very careful not to hit those. So the first lap will be kind of just checking out where those are and exactly what's going on. So Iro Mortara just sitting, waiting, letting everybody else sort of sweep the track just a little bit, as is Jean-Eric Vergne, the DS Techeetah. Bit of tactics going on. I would be sitting there too. I'd probably still be in my bed if I was driving. But again, look at this. This dust is going to play havoc today, because if you do go offline to pass, or somebody pushes you offline when they pass you, yeah, it's you're not going to lose one place. You're going to lose multiple places in that situation.
Did you ever sleep in and miss a practice session or anything, or?
Surprisingly, not.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a sort of some safety system set up that if I did, then people would call.
That's obviously I have a lot of Robin Frein stories, but my favourite was he was staying at his home near, which is about, I don't know, 45 minutes or something from Zolder. DTM qualifying day, oversleeps, wakes up and he's got like half an hour till qualifying starts. I know it wasn't DTM, it was what is now the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS. And he got to the track 10 minutes into qualifying, put his suit on, stuck it on pole.
He'd have to at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
The pressure is on.
Anyway, here's Mitch Evans out on circuit. As you can see, pretty dusty out there. The lap time yesterday, what did I say? A 1 minute 9.8 for Stoffel Van Dorn. So that's the kind of benchmark that we have.
Pole position last year in the first race was a 109.3. So we're in the ballpark. There's a new surface that's turn 9. Mitch Evans has just gone through a new surface there, so that should change things a little bit grip level wise. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out, more or less grip. Certainly I think less bumpy than in years previous.
Through the Manhattan hairpin into Buttermilk Bend. Mitch Evans not pushing by any stretch of the imagination, as he now cruises past the cruise terminal and into the chicane. Through the right, through the left, and we'll stay with Evans. He's going for a push lap at 220 kilowatts by the looks of things. So this is a sort of representing a group phase qualifying lap for Evans down into turn 1.
Yeah, and the lap starts actually, it starts into turn 14, because you've got to carry the momentum all the way through there. Neat and tidy through 1 and 2. The car looks and sounds like it's got decent grip at this point. Again, cooler track temperatures than he'll experience later this afternoon in the race, but probably like he's going to see in qualifying in a couple of hours' time. James Barkley looks nervous already. It's only practice, James.
On board with Mitch Evans. Coming into turn 6 and 7. Hear the chattering of the car as it bounces over the curbs, and now he comes towards turn 9.
And just watch his hands working on the wheel, changing the switches on the wheel, getting the settings right. Sliding a bit over that new surface, but neat and tidy on the throttle. So a lot of people snapping to oversteer, the back of the car sliding there yesterday. Interesting, Mitch doesn't take his hands off the wheel as he rotates through the hairpin of 10. Up to 11. Neat and tidy. Had a couple of goes there yesterday. I was watching, they were sort of turning in out, and the lap is flowing a bit better than it was yesterday. Now 14. A little bit of a lift through the middle. Back to the throttle. Let's see what this does for him.
So Evans goes quickest to 1 minute 12.003. A couple of seconds away from the best lap time from yesterday. Bit of a moment there for Jean-Eric Vergne as he comes through the final corner at Clinton Wharf, and he now goes quicker than Evans by 0.6 of a second. De Vries has done a good first sector, but obviously these are the first laps of the session, so times are going to be tumbling. Here is the Mercedes EQ driver as he comes down into the Manhattan hairpin at turn 10.
Robert Frein's quickest now. Oh, and we've got a Sergio Setti camera stopped on circuit there.
Giovinazzi, his teammate, goes him into 4th place, but Sede Camera, as you say, stopped on the exit of the hairpin at turn 10. Here comes Nick De Vries into the final corner. So, De Vries across the line. Let's go quickest.
Pushing turn 1.
And now he's managed to get going against Sergio Sede Camera and Jay Penske. watching in the garage as his driver gets going again. And here's a look at what happened to Sergio Sede Cameron. So we're coming through turn 9, left-hander.
That car was clear.
Oh, and then there it just kind of died coming out of 9, didn't it?
Yeah, just shut off. It does a good job, just coasts, gets out of the way. Big weekend for Jay Penske, home race here in New York City for the US team. They're looking for good things, get some points on the board. We've seen great performance, I think, from the Dragon Penske guys in qualifying. Just I'm not sure the efficiency's there in the powertrain just yet. Obviously, next year Gen 3 car, it's all changed, so a completely new powertrain.
Sede Cameron returning to the pits now, then everybody else out on circuit. Let's see what Antonio Felix da Costa does here, coming through the final corner. And I don't think he's going to be pushing this time around. Sebastian Buemi goes second quickest in the Nissan. His last win coming here a couple of years ago, back in season 6 for five for Sebastian Buemi. 4 drivers took their last victory here. Sam Bird, Sebastian Buemi, Max Günther and Robin Freitz all took their last victories, most recent victories here. And here is Freitz. And his first sector is the quickest of anyone. 23.6, is he at full power? No, he's at 220 kilowatts.
Again, yesterday, watching Robin, it's maximum attack every lap that he pushes, and it's something to watch. See the back of the car dancing through there, skimming the wall on the exit of 13. You said it yourself. I mean, that's on the limit stuff from Robin Freitz. Fantastic to watch. It goes to P1.
1 minute 10.1 for Robin Freitz, half a second quicker than Nick de Vries. Cassidy's going a little bit quicker than him in the middle sector. There is Sylvain Filippi, the managing director of Envision. Roland goes up into 3rd place. Askew now goes up into 3rd place. This is Antonio Giovinazzi in the Dragon.
Yeah, he talked about Askew. Another guy needs a big weekend. Rookie for the Andretti team. Askew, American team. A lot of the Avalanche sponsors here. Yeah, he could do with a good result to help him out for next year, I would say.
Crunching over the curbs, Giovinazzi.
Very neat and tidy by Giovinazzi.
Dennis in the other Andretti goes second quickest now, still slower than Freitz. Cassidy went 4th. De Vries now goes to the top. Jay Penske watching Giovinazzi out there into the Manhattan hairpin. Giovinazzi's first sector is about a second down on Nick de Vries, and not a personal best in sector 1 as he now comes through the chicane towards the end of the lap.
It's interesting how practice has changed. It used to be so much race running, and we're seeing, I mean, I would say 70% of it now is whether it's 220 group stage running, qualifying sims, or full power knockout at 250 kilowatts. It's just one after the other, qualifying simulations. Yes, style points awarded. That was nice. You watch how the car lands and how the dampers sort of soak up the bump there. That's one of the tricks to being quick on a street circuit, having a car that's compliant and it can soak up those bumps when you bounce the thing off the curbs.
Here's the aforementioned Oliver Askew coming out of the dock loop and down towards turn 6. The man from Florida who had comfortably his best qualifying performance in Formula E last weekend, as he managed to, or 2 weekends ago I should say, as he made it into the dual stages for the first time. Ended up finishing outside of the points, but the Andretti does tend to qualify better than it races, and we've seen that with Jake Dennis quite often as well, as Askew comes into the hairpin with the Porsche behind him. Both Porsches have just been through the pits, Wehrlein and Lotterer, and we've got 20.5 minutes to go.
You and I were talking earlier about the margins in Formula E, the difference between success and failure in any weekend, and something you actually do right now in this session can affect your whole weekend. So for a rookie like Oliver Askew, it makes things very, very tricky, just because you don't know. A guy like Lucas Di Grassi knows exactly what's coming up in a lot of these circuits and just the way the weekends flow. It's all new for Oliver Askew. It makes the challenge, I think, even bigger.
Right, here's Andre Lotterer. He's on a full power lap now, coming into turn 1. Then the 3 right-handers at 2, 3 and 4 around the dock loop and out onto the back straight. The Porsche driver, as I say, has just been through the pits, so kind of simulating a out lap and then a push lap in the qualifying duels, and well, they might, because every race this year, a Porsche has made it into the duels. He's a quarter of a second up on De Vries in sector 1.
Interesting, he doesn't use the curb at all in turn 6, just skims around the outside on the lower curb, not jumping it over as we saw with Edo Mortara.
Turn 9 on board now with Lotterer.
I'd say he overdid the entry a little bit into 9, and he was a bit, yeah, that hurt his exit through 9. Decent through 10. He's half a second up on anybody. Oh, just snatched the inside front locking just as he turned into 11. Nice rotation through the change of direction, 12-13.
So this will be the top of the times for Andre Lotterer as he comes through and goes to a 1 minute 9.353. So that's the fastest time of the weekend so far, set by Andre Lotterer. The first driver really, though, to do a lap at full power. Here's Edo Mortara. He's at 2:20. He's loose as well, and he had Mitch Evans trying to get out of the way of him as he comes down into the chicane. Personal best in sectors 1 and 2.
It was all happening there, wasn't it, for Edo Mortara? Very busy. I think what we're going to see, though, is massive track evolution. The track's going to continue to get better, so the later you can leave it in the session, the faster your lap's going to be, I would say.
Still pretty dusty out there, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. And that's part of it. That's part of racing on the street courses, and it's the same every year here in New York. So I think a lot of the guys know the battlefield. They know what they've got to do. They know how to position the cars when they pass, but also, you know, when they get past.
18 minutes to go. Here comes Sam Bird, 3-time winner of the race here in New York. And he comes through he too, well, he's not on an absolute push lap at the moment, but staying well clear of those curbs.
Absolutely. And Sam's, as you said, the Andretti cars qualifies better than races. Sam struggled in qualifying this year, so it'd be lovely to see him get a good qualifying performance today in the Jaguar. Start up front, and then I think, I mean, as you say, he's won here 3 times. Another one is a distinct possibility. It'd be good to see him get his season really back on track.
He was 4th quickest yesterday in practice with Sam Bird. Now comes into the right-hander. Had a tricky weekend at Le Mans a month or so ago in the GT class, driving a Ferrari. He comes around the final corner now, and at 220 kilowatts comes across the line to start a push lap. De Grassi goes up into 7th place. Quite a lot of the drivers, as you can see on the tower on the left-hand side, coming into the pit lane now as Bird winds his way around the dock loop. It looks like his teammate Evans is doing a sort of similar run plan as well, so we can compare their 2 sectors as he comes out of the right-hander. There's the Mahindra boss, Dilbag Gill, and Alexander Sims is now coming over the line, 20th currently, as he comes down into the first corner, and it looks like a sort of a race run here for Alexander Sims at the moment.
You see the different surfaces through 2, 3, and watch 4 and 5. The surface changes, good grip, and then that grip goes away as the surface changes and the cars slide around, and that's right where you want to get to the throttle jack on the for the run up to turn 6, which I think is one of the reasons it's such a good overtaking chance here in the race. Yeah, Sims is
yeah, I think he's on a prep lap, isn't he?
Yeah,
as he comes
I hope so.
As he comes down towards turn 9 now. Bird goes 8th quickest, Evans goes 9th quickest. So Bird ahead of Evans by almost 2/100ths of a second. As Sims comes into the Manhattan hairpin, almost halfway through this final practice session before qualifying gets underway in an hour and a half from now.
Did you say ahead of him by almost 2/100ths of a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, make it sound like it's a big thing.
Well, no, it's just it's 17 thousandths. So I just meant almost 200. Yeah, huge advantage for Sam Bird. And he is massively slower than Stoffel Van Dorn by 1,000th of a second.
And right. Sims is on it.
Big lockup for Sims coming down into turn 1. Now, Nick De Vries is on a full power lap here in the Mercedes EQ. So is Stoffel Van Dorn. So let's have a little watch of them around the track. Here he comes into turn 6, De Vries, and then ahead of Van Dorn. Oh.
That'll be the curve then. See if there's any difference in the driving styles. A bit of slide on out of the turn 7 area for Stoffel Van Dorn in the second of the Mercedes.
De Vries quicker than Van Dorn in the first sector. Freitz is on a push lap as well and has done the fastest first sector of anybody. Mercedes had a miserable weekend here last year, but they didn't score any points, but were fairly confident that that was due to the reverse grid qualifying kind of vibe that we had last year. Van Dorn might have got a little held up there by Sam Bird. Here comes De Vries out across the line, and it is quickest for De Vries. Goes 100th quicker than Robin Freitz in the end, and Van Dorn goes 5th. Still did personal bests, but in all the sectors, but lost 2/10 to De Vries in the final sector, which may have been a bit of traffic.
Yeah, it did look like the Jaguar got in the way a little bit. I think I don't know if Sam Bird was trying to do the right thing, but eventually it got to the point he's like, I gotta go, and so held up the Mercedes through 12 and 13.
Here comes Dan Ticktum now in the Neo through turns 6 and 7. How's his first sector looking? Only 800ths away from De Vries in sector 1. Will that gap grow in the middle sector? Comes now into the left-hander of turn 9, down towards the Manhattan hairpin at turn 10. The middle sector split is on the exit of this corner, and more corners. Actually, it's probably about the same, to be honest, but a bit more slower, tight, twisty stuff in the middle sector. And Ticktum is now a quarter of a second down on Nick De Vries. So not terrible for Ticktum, but could slot him into kind of the top 6 here if he has a neat and tidy final couple of corners. Again, still in the fairly early stages of the session. Cassidy goes 6th quickest, Ticktum goes 6th quickest, deposes Cassidy.
And Ticktum again, he's a rookie, and it's his first year here, so he's learning at a much higher rate than most of the other guys on the track. So I think he's done a good job.
Less than 13 minutes to go, and it is De Vries quickest at the moment. Freitz 2nd, Losser a 3rd, Verline 4th, Van Dorn 5th. Turvey now jumps up into 6th position. There's Stoffel Van Dorn out of the final corner now, down towards turn 1, and Van Dorn is just starting a flying lap now. So he's done a prep lap, and now he is pushing Stoffel Van Dorn into turn 1. Through, so much speed in the 2.
Yeah, you can see the grip level of the circuit going up, and obviously in these low track temperature conditions, there's some decent grip out there. Here comes Jean-Eric Vergne to the end of the lap.
And across the line, and De Grassi goes up into 7th place. Big lockup, it's Da Costa, who's just starting a flying lap now in the DS to Cheetah. As he comes around the dock loop.
Very easy to overdo it in turn 3. We saw, I think it was Mitch Evans hit the wall in that area last year. So easy just to get a little greedy. And the difference between 99% grip and crashing is it's minuscule, but the results are, yeah, obviously quite different.
Less than 12 minutes to go in the session now. Da Costa's first sector is 500ths up on his teammate Jean-Eric Vergne, who's now at the top of the times. Both DS to Cheetahs in very good qualifying form recently as well, has to be said. Da Costa pole last time out in Marrakesh, and in fact Vergne and Da Costa have both been in the duels in 3 of the last 4 races. Only Vergne missing out in Berlin, the second race, stopped that being a regular run. Da Costa goes 6th fastest, so time ebbed away in the middle part of the lap. Here comes Mortara out towards the line. Dennis goes up into 15th. Mortara goes up into 6th place, a quarter of a second away from Stoffel Van Dorn.
Yeah, Lotterer's on a lap. He's a 10th up on anybody just now after the second split. So he's really pushing.
Less than 11 minutes to go now as these drivers start to push. And here comes Nick Cassidy into the final turn. Through the left-hander, Lotterer goes to the top, a 1:09.073, and Cassidy remains 14th quickest, not improving on that lap. De Vries is pushing again. Lots of quick laps coming in. Here is De Vries into Buttermilk Bend. Oh, right up to the wall, and then taking a lot of curve through the chicane, both sides.
Watch 14, they actually head for the wall, and they use the G-force of the car as it slides to position the car, but if the car didn't have that little slide, it would hit the inside wall. They're really threading the needle through 14.
Pacific Camera's just done a huge sector 1.
Wow.
Here comes Max Günther out across the line, and Günther goes fifth quickest in the Nissan, so that's quite encouraging for...
Yeah, let's go back to SETI cameras for a sector.
Yeah.
It's 2/10 up the road from anybody. That's mighty through that first sector.
Less than 10 minutes to go. You can see if they have a purple or a blue dash by their name, then they are pushing, and Mitch Evans is starting a push lap now.
SETI camera's second sector was not all that, so he's now a 10th.5 down, but the speed's there if he can thread that whole lap together.
Yeah, he was second quickest yesterday in free practice 1. Verline's on a reasonable lap. SETI camera in the end goes 7th quickest. Evans is 100th up after the first sector on Lotterer's time. Verline is now the quickest, so it's a Porsche 1-2, Mercedes 3-4, and Diaz Techeetah 5th currently. But Sims is going to try and get into that mix. Askew goes 9th fastest.
You can hear the Jaguar hitting the ground. I haven't heard that with any of the other cars yet. You can hear it start, every time it hits one of the big bumps, it's smashing into the ground. Just looking at the sky, the forecast says it doesn't say it's going to rain, but...
It's overcast for sure this morning here in New York. Maybe the sun will burn that cloud off as the day goes on. 8.5 minutes to go. Evans through the final corner. After the first 2 sectors, he was 200ths away. So it's going to be close for Evans. He does go quickest at 1 minute 8.886. Now we're with Mortara wrestling his way through the chicane, and he loves getting so close to the walls, Mortara. I think he's the closest wall rider there is out there. He just loves it. Here he comes, and it is 5th quickest for the championship leader.
I think Mortara, he's sort of changed in the years he's been in Formula E. At first we were sort of saying, oh, he's the guy who won Macau all these times, and he was either, you know, win or bust or crash, or, you know, remember in Hong Kong he was leading the race and spun, and he's matured into just a, you know, he's still got the raw speed, but he's a championship contender, and he's managed to become so much more consistent. But I agree, I think he gets so close to the walls there, and just has that almost sixth sense of where the edges of the car are.
Less than 8 minutes to go. Here comes Alexander Sims through the final corner, and the Mahindra man, sorry, it's Rowland coming across the line to start a flying lap down into turn 1.
And a shallow entry for Oliver Rowland. It didn't look like he was so happy on the brakes with the balance of the car. Maybe the rear was moving around a bit, so he shallowed it, turned in early, which helps him to stabilize the rear, but then hurts your exit, setting up for that whole 2, 3, 4, 5 section of corners.
Only 600ths away in the first sector, Rowland. Now out towards turn 9.
We've talked a lot about Oliver Rowland's qualifying prowess. I mean, he's whether it was the Nissan or now in the Mahindra, he's so capable of just throwing a lap down, finding the absolute limit when it's time to do it.
Middle sector split. He's 2/10 away from Evans, and he's getting quite a bit of traffic here. Bird keeps out of the way through the chicane.
Yeah, it looked like he went into the chicane just a little bit quick, and it spoiled his momentum through the second part.
He's got a shot at the top 6 here. Rowland comes through. 6th place for the Mahindra driver. 6 minutes to go. His teammate just coming out of the pit lane. Evans is quickest at the moment. Verline, Lotterer, Van Dorn and Mortara. The rest of the top 5 as it stands. Nobody on a full power lap currently. Sam Bird heads out there, and just heard the screech of the tyres from the Mahindra behind, maybe trying to put some heat into the tyres or something. Bird is 8/10 away from Evans, but I don't think his last lap was a 1 minute 34, so maybe this lap we'll see Sam Bird wind it up and go full power, because he looks like he's doing a couple of prep laps here, potentially to try and get the tyres back in the right window.
And that is absolutely key. It's key in any formula, but especially in Formula E, getting those tyres into the operating window, which is so small, and that can make that is the difference really. If you get that grip level, it allows you to carry the speed. If not, it's not going to happen for you. You're going to be starting at the back.
Poles is the last year. Nick Cassidy here in New York, and through the first sector this time he is 3/10 away from Evans. Coming towards turn 9. He's got Stoffel Van Dorn ahead of him. You heard the tyres squealing as he missed the apex.
Yeah, a little bit. Now he's backed off. Oh, that's a driver talk for what the... And then he's held up in this behind him.
Buemi.
He'll teach him some new hand signals when he goes past.
Didn't really look like Van Dorn was close enough to actually bother Cassidy there.
No, I think he unsighted him in a bit of frustration. So I think Cassidy made the mistake and thought he'd blame someone else. I'd definitely move I'd have pulled.
Here comes Giovinazzi. Bird didn't start a full power push lap. He's on a 220 kilowatt push lap at the moment. And a lot of the drivers, or some of the drivers, like to do this, do their full power laps and then lock up for Giovinazzi and then get into the 220 running at the end of the session. But again, this is what, anyway, I've banged on about this before this season, but the last thing Giovinazzi's doing is a 220 kilowatt run, something that he's never had to do all season in earnest.
250.
Sorry, 250, something he's never had to do all season. But here he is practicing it just before qualifying gets underway.
Jack, I hate to say this, but I agree with you. You're absolutely right. You've got to get your eye in, get your markers and everything, get the rhythm going on what you're going to do. And the one thing the teams might be able to say is, well, they've got several laps in qualifying to do that.
Giovinazzi goes 6th quickest, less than 3/10 away from Mitch Evans. There's Tom Blomqvist on the left-hand side, and Bertrand Famine. Robin Freitz is race engineer. Blomqvist here as reserve driver for Envision, and Freitz goes 3rd. 500ths away from Evans. We're on board with Evans through the final corner. He's a 10th down on his previous best, and he comes across the line only 500ths down on his previous best, setting the fastest final sector in the process, Mitch Evans. So looking pretty strong, the Jaguars at the moment. Bird at the moment is still not doing a full power lap. Looks like he's on a cool down currently. His last lap was a 1 minute 10.0, so another 220 kilowatt push lap for Bird. France is keeping out of the way. There is the Jaguar TCS team.
Jean-Eric Verne's on a good lap. He's a 10th up on the first sector.
This is Antonio Felix da Costa through the first sector, and he's quicker than Verne by 0.2 of a second in sector 1 alone.
Okay, wow.
Fastest first sector of the day for Antonio Felix da Costa.
He's got traffic though.
It's Mortara. Mortara does move over to the side and keep out of the way. Verne goes 4th quickest in the end. He sets the fastest final sector. What's da Costa got in the middle sector? He is still almost 0.2 up. Lovely slide.
Yeah, a bit of a slide off of 11. Looked okay through 12-13. Didn't flow very well though.
Dennis has done a good middle sector. Bird has done a good first sector. Dennis goes 2nd fastest. Da Costa goes quickest, a 1 minute 8.684. Now we're on driver's eye with Sam Bird coming into turn 9. Oh!
I think he overdid the entry again into 9. We've seen a lot of people do that.
Well,
Second sector coming up.
He was a 10th down in sector 1. He's now 7/10ths down. So yeah, lost more than half a second with that mistake at turn 9.
And this is the hard bit for a driver. You know, it's not been going well this season. You start sort of second-guessing yourself, trying harder, trying different things, and sometimes you've got to get out of your own head and just drive the car. But Sam, if he could get this one lap nailed this morning, I think it completely changes his race this afternoon.
Goes up into 17th place, Sam Bird. Less than a minute to go. Da Costa quickest. Evans 2nd. Dennis 3rd for them, the Andretti team. Mark Preston, the CEO of DS Techeetah. Jay Penske, the boss at Dragon. And Da Costa looks like he's going to end the session quickest, unless we get some big push laps right here. But I think Van Dorn is on 220. Indeed he is, leading Evans over the line.
It's one of those situations, to go back to what you were saying earlier though, I would be more interested in having a good 220 baseline at this point than putting a big number on, because as my boss Chip Ganassi would say, how much does practice pay? You know, it's just bragging rights. You got to, I think at this point in the session, I'd be looking for that 220 exciting lap to get ready for qualifying coming up. in just over an hour. Wow, big jump from Stoffel van Dorn through turn 6. The checkered flag is out.
Camera is the first driver to take it. Yellow flag at turn 9, where Van Dorn's arriving now, and it is one of the Envisions facing the wrong way, and I think it's Nick Cassidy. But it could be Robin Freitz, but Cassidy was pushing, so it is Cassidy, yeah, because there's Freitz. So Cassidy has gone off at turn 9 and is just rejoining the circuit now. And he's going to end the session penultimately slowest. Is that a phrase? I've never used it before, but
I've never heard it before.
No, but he's going to be penultimately slowest, is Nick Cassidy. Here comes Freitz across the line, and he ends the session 5th quickest. Here's a look at Van Dorn. Really big leap and a slide.
And that allows him to carry a load of speed through 6, but compromises his entry to 7. So he'll now look at the data and say, actually, you know, I might have overdone it in 6, or no, that worked, and the gain was better than the loss through turn 7.
Ian James, Sylvain Filippi, next to Mike Lugg, and that's Jerome D'Ambrosio and Delphine Pisquet. Checker flag out then, it's Da Costa who ends it quickest for Diaz-Techeetah, but we've got 5 different cars in the top 5 positions, and it's just going to be as tight as ever by the looks of things. Jaguar looking strong, Diaz-Techeetah up there as well. Andretti looking quick, Porsche in there. The only one that aren't really in there in this particular session are Mercedes. No Mercedes powertrain higher than 8th place of Stoffel van Dorn. So that'll be a bit of something to keep in mind. Van Dorn was quickest yesterday, so I don't think they're going to be too stressed about it, but 4 tenths away from Da Costa today. As we look at Turvey on the left, and Askew on the right. They pull away.
And watch how much dust if they show. No, they don't show turn 1 there, but the dust on the inside, you get the advantage. We get a disadvantage on the right as we see it, but then if you're on the inside as well, it's dusty down there, so you've really got to try and stay on the cleanest part of the track on the first lap, and I think that's going to involve possibly some pushing and shoving. Not possibly. I think there's definitely going to be some pushing and shoving on that first lap this afternoon.
More practice starts coming down towards the first corner. Freitz there on the left-hand side. Everybody queuing up to do their practice start on the clean side of the grid, bar Oliver Rowland, who's going over to the right-hand side. I'm sometimes surprised there isn't an agreement that let's all do our practice starts on the left and clean it up a bit. But there we go. I don't know how much that would actually clean the track up if everybody was doing their practice starts on that left-hand side. But
worth thinking about, but try and get consensus with 2 drivers, never mind. Yeah. 22 is almost impossible.
Lotterer on the left as the lights go out. And he has ended the session 7th quickest, Lotterer, and he found the dirt.
Yeah, almost spun. That just shows you what's potentially happened this afternoon. We've seen 3 or 4 people actually just have these slow spins as they get onto the dust on the outside of turn 1. So I think turn 1's going to be worth watching this afternoon.
Dan Tickton into the first corner for the Neo team, and here are the results at the end of free practice 2. Qualifying coming up in just over an hour's time, and it is Antonio Felix Da Costa who ends it quickest, a 1 minute 8.684, 2 tenths ahead of Evans and Dennis and Verline and Freitz and Verne, and then it's a huge almost 4 tenths back to Lotterer in 7th place. Van Dorn, Mortara, Giovinazzi doing a good lap, and Oliver Rowland completing the top 11, and then Nick De Vries in the other Mercedes EQ just missing out on the top 11. Buemi and Gunter 13th and 14th. The other Dragon of Sergio Sedecamera in 15th position after he had a brief breakdown during the session. Askew ended up finishing 16th. Bird made a mistake at turn 9, which cost him lap time, but his first sector was doing okay. The 2 Neos in 19th and 20th, and then Cassidy and Sims completing the 22 drivers after free practice 2. So, Not long now before qualifying gets underway. De Grassi ending the session 18th fastest in the end, 8/10 away from Antonio Felix da Costa, but that is the man there, da Costa, who was quickest.
There is that feeling, you go and you look at the timesheet. You look, most drivers, the first thing they do, they go and look at the timesheets, and you see, and you sort of start at the top, and you look down, and you look down, and you look down, and it's just, if you're at the top part of it, lovely. If you're at the bottom part, yeah, not so good, and it really can affect your psyche. But in NASCAR, it had two sides to the page, and if you were on the right side of the screen, which I generally was, that meant you were really crap. And yeah, that was never a good feeling.
Eduardo Mortara, championship leader, only 9th quickest in that session, almost half a second away from da Costa. But let's go down to the DS Techeetah garage, shall we, and join Darren Adetossier.
James, right, so Antonio was P7 yesterday and then at top of the times today. What do you think's changed overnight?
A lot of hard work from our engineers. You know, we had a lot of things to analyse from last night. Small details, but you know, all these small details add up, make the difference.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Good luck for the race.
Thank you.
Cheers, James, thank you.
That's it. That's it then. Simple as that. Hard work from the engineers, and you're good to go, says James Rossiter. And Sam Bird looking at the timing screens. You can get involved as well. Fan Boost. Scan the QR code on the bottom right, or vote online at fiaformula.com/fanboost. And you can vote once a day to give your favourite driver an extra power boost in the second half of the E-Prix later on today. Da Costa and Van Dorn obviously always up there. Mortara, de Grassi and that man, Mitch Evans, currently in the top 5. Jake Dennis is 12th at the moment in the fan boost standings. Lotter's there or thereabouts in 9th position. Mortara looking for his second fan boost appearance of the season. Askew will do anything for a fan boost. Second free practice ahead of the New York City E-Prix got underway nice and early this morning. Mitch Evans ready to go. And not all of the cars making their way out onto the circuit as soon as the light went green. Jean-Eric Byrne was pushing in the early stages. Mitch Evans as well, looking pretty quick. He ended the session second fastest to the Jaguar man. Offline and dirty around the first couple of corners if you get a little bit wide. Da Costa on the run down into the first corner. Robin Freitz aggressive and attacking through the chicane. He ended the session 5th quickest. Eduardo Mortara, championship leader, could only manage 9th fastest. Cassidy also attacking the curbs. Lotterer. Tyre pressure check at DS Techeetah as everybody went out for their full power run. Sam Bird pushing. Lucas de Grassi with a big lock-up down at the first corner. The same true of his teammate Eduardo Mortara, so that might explain where some of the speed went for the Venturi team. Van Dorn with a beautiful slide, but Antonio Felix da Costa, the quickest driver in free practice 2. Right, see you in an hour. Da Costa getting stuck into the analysis straight away, but he is the man to beat. Pole sitter last time out in Marrakesh, and quickest in the second free practice session. But that is the championship leader, Eduardo Mortara, and he needs another big haul of points this afternoon. So does Mitch Evans if they want to keep up their title fight. We'll be with you in about an hour for qualifying here in New York.